to all of you for, oh, thank you, Matt. Welcome to all of you for joining. Just a few housekeeping things. We are recording today's meeting, so just to have it available for those members that are not able to join us in person or at this time today. So if you want to get off video, totally understand, but do know that we are recording the next hour. Also, there is, as you might know, from years of being on Zoom, there is an option for closed captioning. So if you need, please make use of that as well. And as we go through the next hour, please feel free to also use the chat. We have a whole bunch of people from the executive committee who are really eager to interact, get to know all of you better. So please, if you have any questions that come up, no need to wait until the end. Please do chat. And as we are here, please do interact with us, engage with us if you are not already engaged with us, connected with us on social media, on our Twitter, or please go and check out our website. And again, if you have any questions or if you just want to, if you have any thoughts, please do feel free to click share through the chat button. So without me taking more time, Matt, I would like to introduce Matt, who is the chair of SWB, who's going to take us through a few really important and interesting things. Matt, please take it away.
Thank you. And given that I've got a few slides, I'm actually going to take over sharing if that's okay. All right. Okay, welcome everybody. As Shloka mentioned, my name is Matt Brems. I'm the chair here at Statistics Without Borders. I'm excited to get to chat with you over the next hour. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you all for volunteering. We are, as many of you know, a fully volunteer organization. And so everything that we do would not be possible without your time and your energy and your intentionality and everything. So we just very much appreciate everything that you do to make Statistics Without Borders possible. So one of the things that I want to do here is we are 15 years old now. Statistics Without Borders was born, so to speak, in 2008, or it was created in 2008, including by some of the people on the call here. And what I want to do is, given that we are now 15 years into existence, I want to talk about kind of where we are and where we're going. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. In fact, I see one of our co-founders, Gary Shapiro, is joining the meeting as we speak. So something that you may or may not know, we have some of us on the executive committee have 2-year terms. And so we are right now at the halfway point of what these terms are. So we started our terms in 2022, and then we will end our terms almost exactly 12 months from now in 2024. And there are 5 areas of focus that the executive committee and I are trying to focus on over this 2-year period. And I want to take this opportunity to check in on where we are in terms of these different goals. One thing that I will ask is for folks who have joined, if you can make sure to mute yourself, that would be much appreciated. So before I get into these, or one thing that I want to encourage you to do and kind of tip my hand and tell you where we're going to go is I'm going to be asking you for your help here. We are halfway through this term, and there's a lot of areas where we can use folks' support. We do a lot of projects, and you're going to hear about some of the projects that we do. In addition to the projects that we do, there are a lot of other ways for people to contribute and to volunteer as we seek to take Statistics Without Borders from where we are today into what it can be in, once we turn 25 and 50 and beyond that. So what I'm going to ask you to do as I go through these items is listen, think about these items and say, what's something that you would want to work on, or how might you want to contribute? And then just open up your email, write an email to chair.statisticswithoutborders@gmail.com. It's a long name, I know. But what I would like for you to do is just send me a quick email and say, hey, saw you at the annual meeting. This is the thing that I would love to work on. And I want to work individually with you to make sure that you have the opportunity to contribute to these 5 goals that we're working on. And we've got some progress on, but again, there's plenty to go over the next year and beyond. So with that, let's get into the areas of focus. So we have 5 areas of focus for 2022 to 2024. The first is to develop and publish a strategic plan. And I'm going to talk more in detail about that, but I want to walk through the other 4 areas that we're focused on as well. It's important that we increase the extent to which we live up to our name Without Borders, or the Without Borders in Statistics Without Borders. We want to develop a world-class marketing and communications program, or MARCOM program. We are taking steps and want to increase the quality of volunteer engagement. I imagine that many of you have joined today and you say, hey, maybe it's been a while since I've been assigned to a project, but I want to find ways to contribute. So we're trying to find ways to increase how much you're able to engage with us at SWB, as well as the quality of that engagement. And we want to increase our number of high quality projects with appropriate clients. And so we're going to go through each of these, and this is going to be kind of like our agenda for the day. But again, as you look through these things, as you hear us talk about it, again, pull up an email and say, hey, this is an area where I would really like to learn more and contribute to Statistics Without Borders. So developing and publishing a strategic plan. As I mentioned, we turned 15 years old. Actually, I don't know the exact date, but it may have been last week. And the world is different today than it was 15 years ago. And as we all know, it's very different than it was even 5 years ago, which was when we last updated our charter. So there's the availability of remote work and things that were pushed forward as a result of COVID. When we think about statistics as a field, statistics doesn't look the same as it did 5 years ago or 15 years ago. As we think about data science, data engineering, software development, all of these related fields, it's incumbent upon us to figure out, what does statistics mean when we say Statistics Without Borders? The availability of the internet, the promotion of open source software, the availability of education resources, these are also more widely available now than they were 5 and 15 years ago. And we also recognize how important it is to incorporate JEDI, or I'm going to ask that folks make sure that they're muted, to incorporate JEDI, or Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, into our work, and not just our work and like the projects we do, but also all of the decisions that we make. What we're trying to do with creating a strategic plan is we want to chart a course for what the next 5 to 10 years looks like and beyond, knowing full well that 5 years from now, the world's going to look really different and we're probably going to have to reset at that point. But we want to say, where is it that we're going? So as many of you know, or may have seen before, there's a few pieces to this strategic plan that we're working on. The first is our vision. What is the ideal state of the world as described by SWB? And the current vision that we have drafted and will ultimately vote on as a full organization, not just an executive committee, but all of you as voting members of our organization will get to vote on this and help us approve this. So our vision, if we describe SWB as wildly successful and the world becomes exactly what we would want it to be, we say that SWB envisions a world in which everyone has access to statistical expertise and uses that expertise to positively impact our world. Moving on to our mission. If everybody could please make sure that they are muted. For our mission, we're trying to answer the question, what does SWB do to help achieve that mission? What is SWB's role in, or excuse me, helping to achieve that vision? What is our role in making that vision, that ideal world, a reality? And so our current draft is that we're committed to providing statistical services to organizations to maximize their positive impact on society. And then finally, we want to set up some guiding principles that help to say, we know where we are, we know where we want to go and what role we want to play, but what are some of the boundaries that help us decide what decisions to make? This kind of goes back to when I was talking about JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and saying, how do we incorporate that in all the decisions we make? So we're fleshing out some guiding principles, what helps to dictate our actions at the executive committee, all the way through all of our project volunteers and recruiting projects and everything that we do. Some of the main areas of focus that we're looking at are prioritizing the greater good, ensuring that we do no harm, incorporating equity into our decision-making processes, and discussing and making sure that we remain focused on professional integrity and ethics. This is the foundation for this this strategic plan. And that allows us to say, once we've got this and we align on this as an organization, it then allows us to say, now, what's the structure of our organization going to be? How do we go and achieve that vision? How do we make that mission a reality? And what are the things that we can do? So I'm excited for this as a foundational piece that over the next year, you're going to hear a lot more about. So that's area of focus 1, developing and publishing a strategic plan. The next thing on the kind of the agenda, the next area of focus is increasing the extent to which we live up to actually being without borders. So one of the things that we did last year was after an invitation from the Committee on International Relations and Statistics, we advocated for an American Statistical Association policy change. So as many of you know, if you're members of the ASA or have looked into becoming members of the ASA, it can be quite expensive to join the American Statistical Association, depending on your background. And one of the things that we advocated for and the American Statistical Association instituted was to reduce the fees for membership for those in developing countries. I believe there's a list of about 135 countries that are as part of that list. So that in order to be a member of the ASA, if you want to do that and get the benefits out of joining the ASA, instead of paying $180 US, you only have to pay $10 US. There's a number of reasons that that's important to us. One of the most important is that to be a member of the executive committee, over half or at least half of our executive committee needs to be members of the ASA, and certain positions, including chair, must be members of the ASA. And by the ASA making this policy change, it allows us and our executive committee to more easily reflect the world that we're trying to serve. So this is one way we are trying to live up to being without borders. Related to this, one of the things that you'll hear more about in a moment is that we've partnered closely with the Committee on International Relations and Statistics to deliver educational events to folks around the globe. And I won't steal anybody's thunder in talking about that, but I'll leave it here for now. And you'll hear more about that momentarily. And then the last thing that I want to bring up here is executive committee membership. I talked about this for a moment when we talked about the ASA policy change, but in order for us to be without borders, it's not enough for us to recruit volunteers from around the world and to recruit clients from around the world. It's important for us to have global representation at all levels of our organization, and that includes our executive committee. So what are things that we can be doing as part of our executive committee to ensure that we reflect our volunteer base and we reflect the globe that we're trying to serve? And so with executive committee membership, here is the SWB Executive Committee for the coming year. You may recognize many of these faces if you've attended one of these events before. I won't list through all of these. There's a recording. You're welcome to reach out to any of us. All of our information is also on the website if you'd like to reach out to one of us. But one of the things that we have made strides in over recent years and are continuing to are to increase our global footprint and our diversity in a number of different ways. One of the things in particular that I want to call out here, one of the changes that I want to mention today, is that Shloka Iyengar, who has been our secretary, or I should say Dr. Shloka Iyengar, who has been our Marcom director for a while, has agreed to step up in the position of secretary. So we're grateful for her doing that and having the seat here on, or continuing to serve on the executive committee in a new capacity. And we're taking this as an opportunity to welcome Preetham and Moy Luful as our Marcom co-directors. Both of these individuals are based in Asia, and this helps us to increase our geographic footprint, help to bring vital, important perspectives to the executive committee, and allow us to, again, make better decisions for the world that we're trying to serve. So this is our executive committee as a whole. There's still plenty of work to do here, as well as at all levels of our organization, but I'm excited about the start that we've made. We're going to move into talking about the developing a world-class Marcom program. I'm going to quickly bring up the chat just to see if there was anything that I had missed or any questions. Thank you, Aisha, for sharing the email. Apologies for not having done that before. Again, as you see these items here, I will reshare it in case people hadn't seen it. Feel free to reach out to chair.statisticswithoutborders@gmail.com. Say, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about, and this is something I want to contribute to. And I'm happy to work with you personally to find a way in which you can do that. And with that, no further questions or anything in the chat. So Shloka, I'm happy to turn it over to you to talk about Marcom.
Thank you, Matt. Again, it's a huge pleasure to be here. As you know, please, so such a great opportunity for us to see your name, see your faces, and really interact with you. As Matt mentioned, I was serving as chair of the Marketing and Communications Directorate, and since we work with people and organizations literally around the globe, one of the things that we are always trying to get better is also the ways in which we talk about our work, and making sure that those ways, the words that we use, really do justice to the people that we're eventually trying to serve. So with that, we can go to the next slide. And this is as Matt mentioned, he introduced Preetham and Moy, who are going to be taking the lead on the Marketing and Communications Directorate, our website, which we will share on the chat again. There's amazing Anne and Cruz who are working on making sure that the website is updated, looks good, and all of those things. Michelle, we'll hear from her in a few, but she is our multimedia coordinator and does a lot of really important work in making sure that we have representation at JSM. So thank you, Michelle, for years and years of your work. If you're members of SWB, and if you're not, please do sign up. You might have seen our quarterly newsletters. It's Rasita who develops those and sends them over. Everything that we do, Farhana is the one that copy edits, makes sure that all the words are accurate. And then Luke, who has been doing a lot of different things, but most recently has been working to help us analyze surveys. We also mentioned that you might have seen project openings for certain projects. In addition to those, we always need people to support us at the back end. For Marcom, this looks like we would love to have people who could help us with networking events, with coming up with content for the wider community, and to help us with our social media. So again, if any of these interest you, please reach out to us. Moving on, thank you, Matt. As Matt mentioned, we've had the pleasure of working closely with the Committee on International Relations in Statistics, and have held several webinars that have been attended, I hope, by many of us here, but really hundreds of people across the globe. And the point is really to bring quality education, technical education to everybody. We share materials, we share the slides. Our upcoming one is actually on September 20th, where we will look at missing data, which again promises to be one of a super popular topic that many of us want to know about. Let's see. Thank you, Matt, amazing. One of the other things we have done is, we have a lot of projects over, every single year. And we've also instituted internally a kind of a project snapshot. So what you see on the slide is just that, what was the project, what was done, why it was done. And this will really allow us to, again, get more clients, really succinctly explain what was done, why it was done. And of course, highlight the people that have done the work, because as Matt mentioned, this is all volunteer-based, all of you doing all the work. So again, a time for us to really highlight our volunteers as well. We also have a Medium page where we not occasionally, but we publish articles. Again, if you would like to contribute to those articles, please feel free to reach out to us. We also have Matt, could you please advance? Amazing, thank you. Again, speaking of volunteers, in our newsletters that Rasita puts together, we also have Volunteer Spotlight. And again, as the executive committee, it's rare for us to get a chance to really see you, work with you, for many of us. So this gives us, again, an opportunity for the executive committee to know our outstanding volunteers, and for our community to know who you are and the amazing work that you do. So again, if you have done work on a project, and if you want to tell people about it, please let us know. And thank you, Matt, for all the information in the chat. And the next slide, amazing. I'll pass it over to Jay, who is going to talk to us about volunteer engagement and all the work that her team has done over the year on just that.
All right, thank you, Shloka. My name is Jay Brodsky. I'm the Vice Chair of Statistics Without Borders, and I've been focusing on the volunteer experience at SWB over the past year. So we have been working on a number of different approaches and projects to ensure that our volunteers have a good experience when they do projects with us, when they do any kind of volunteering for us. And I think that, Matt, can you go to the next slide? Sorry. So one of the things that we did this year is we had a survey. We reached out to all of the members to find out what they were thinking, and we held multiple office hours. I believe we held 5 of them total with different members of the EC to discuss our proposed new mission and vision statements, and to see what people's thoughts are about SWB and how we could improve. The members survey gave us some very useful results. One of the things that we are starting this year, actually it'll be next week, is a new onboarding experience for new volunteers. So if you're a new volunteer and you'd like to participate in our onboarding, go ahead and give me send me an email at jbrodsky@gmail.com. I'm just sticking that in the chat, and let me know. And these are going to be next week. And we also got feedback on the different types of projects that we've run and what types of projects would be good for our volunteers to do. Some of the feedback we got is that a lot of our projects take a long amount of time. So sometimes people would like to volunteer, but the time commitment is too long, or they have a different set of skills. And so the type of skills that they have are not the type of skills needed for some of our projects. So we're going to be focusing on that. We also had a suggestion to have regular office hours to allow the executive committee to have more direct contact with all of our volunteers. So we will most likely be doing some type of office hour we're thinking every 2 to 3 months. We're going to see how interested people are. If you have an opinion on this, go ahead and let us know. You can put it in the chat, or you can send it to our email, which is statisticswithoutborders@gmail.com, which I will also put in the chat. I cannot talk and type at the same time. Sorry, everybody. There we go. So part of our new volunteer management committee is with the goal of reaching out and having more regular contact with all of the volunteers to get everybody's feedback and opinion on what they would like with our group. So could we go to the next slide and see? So we started setting up a new volunteer management system last year, and we are continuing it for this year. So what we have going on right now is we've updated our volunteer handbook, our privacy policy code of conduct. We have a new conflict resolution system. We hope it never comes to this, but if our volunteers have a conflict with each other for some reason and they can't work it out, we now have a system for how to handle this. And that's also in our new updated volunteer handbook. The volunteer handbook, the updated privacy policy and code of conduct are on our website. So you can see this if you want. And we have simplified the new volunteer sign-up form, and we're probably going to be simplifying it further. It is, for those of you who signed up recently, or those who remember, we're statisticians, right? So our list of categories and topics for things, we put this huge list of things, then we like to do breakdowns and analyses. But it means that when you do the actual sign-up, you have to go through this huge list of stuff. So we are going to be simplifying that. So for new volunteers, we are going to be doing onboarding 2 sessions next week, one on August 21st and one on August 22nd. And we try to put them at 2 completely different times so that people who are on different continents will hopefully have a time that will work for them. However, if you can't make it, We're going to record them and you will be able to see the recording. We have a YouTube channel and we have our website. So if you can't make it, that's okay. But we will make it available for everybody. One of the suggestions that we got from our survey, which is very interesting, is that a lot of people said that it wasn't clear or easy to find out what non-project volunteer opportunities there were. We have a number of things going on that we need help with or people to fill positions for at SWB. So we have a page on our website that has the non-project volunteer opportunities. And as Shloka mentioned, there's a number of open positions that need people in Marcom. So for example, those are listed on our non-project opportunities. So we have a lot of volunteer opportunities if you'd like to do something, but doing an occasional project doesn't work for you. So we have more, we have positions with sort of more regular couple hours a week type work that needs to be done as well. So hopefully that will be easier for people to find. Oh, sorry, Matt. Can you go to the next slide? I keep hitting the button, but it doesn't do anything. Okay, so that's where we're with volunteer management. And as always, let us know if you have any suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. And of course, a bulk of what we do is work with organizations all over the world on projects. And Gitanjali and her team will tell us a little bit about how that work is actually done, all the work that the Directorate of Operations do to make it all happen. Please take it away.
Thanks, Shloka. Matt, if you can. Yes, there it is. So operations team at SWB, it's a team of 5 people. So all the work that you see happening from the back end, the emails that go out informing about the projects that's happening or the upcoming projects for which we are recruiting volunteers, building a team there. All those type of things are managed by the operations team. And so I have this wonderful team here. With Ed, who manages our database and newsletters. He handles sending those emails to you. We have Sajan Ravindran, who manages the SharePoint part of SWB. We have Alyssa, who is our business intelligence expert and handles most of the analysis there. And we have Ajibola Salami, who handles the email communications as well. So anytime you have any question and you send it to statisticswithoutborders@gmail.com, you receive a response. It goes from Ajibola. So we have this team here and we are looking to grow further. We have an opening as well for a SharePoint administrator. So in case you are interested in being a part of SWB and helping from the internal side, not actually working on a client-facing project, but rather facilitating all of those stuff, being on the operations side of SWB, then please email us at that email address. And currently, a project that's happening on the operations side, which is aimed at making like how we plan things at SWB, making it better, how we plan for the resources, what type of projects we have, what does the pipeline look like, and all of that stuff. So Alyssa, who is a business intelligence expert on the operations side, she is working on that project. So I'll pass it on to Alyssa to talk a little bit more about what that project is, and at the end, what it would all look like and how it will impact SWB. Alyssa?
Yes, thank you so much, Gitanjali. If I may either share screen or, there it is. All right. So yes, this is the Project Pipeline Business Intelligence Project, and I'll start by going over a little overview of what we hope this project to accomplish and what it will be. So this is going to be a dashboard that is a comprehensive summary of all of our historical and current project data. So this data dates back all the way to 2012 up to yesterday. And so we hope that by going through this data and understanding it, we'll be able to gain insights into the average project duration and average number of currently active projects. And by also going over this, we'll be able to understand a project's movement from one phase to the next. So that is that project pipeline that Gitanjali just mentioned. And some benefits of this project are that we will have enhanced resource planning based on data-driven insights and an increased capacity for more projects by being able to optimize our resource allocation. And by being able to better understand our past and plan for our future, then we'll be able to amplify our positive footprint by handling projects more effectively. And this picture right here is just a kind of concept of what we plan the dashboard to look like. So we'll be able to go back in time and filter to either year to date or last year or 3 years ago and better understand how our projects have moved from one phase to the next, or those statistics that I was talking about. So, thank you.
Thank you very
Alyssa.
much.
I'll pass it back.
Yeah, thanks, Gitanjali. Thank you, Alyssa. As we queued David up to talk about engagement, I'm really excited for this project. We at SWB are kind of the client here, but this is a much needed thing that we want to work on and we want to expand internally. So as Alyssa mentioned, we can be better at saying how many projects can we handle, how many folks do we want to recruit for various things, and how do we start optimizing this so that we focus on getting projects that are likelier to get to completion for one reason or another. So this is really, really exciting to see this coming to life. With that, David, I know that there were some tech issues earlier. Are you on?
I think, David, you're good to share, to speak, right? Uh-oh.
Yeah, David, it looks like you are muted on both of your accounts. While David unmutes himself, this is something that, as I mentioned earlier, talking about getting better at working without borders and things like that. Tech issues are a very natural part of where we are and where we're going to be, and so it's we're just rolling with any of the punches here. David, do we have you?
I hope so.
We do. Perfect. With that, I'll go ahead and advance to the next slide if you want to introduce your team.
Right. I'm the director of the engagement part of SWB. I'm getting some feedback here. Let me turn this down. We have 4 committees within engagement, and I'd like to tell you about all of these. This is engagement works with projects that come into us and does the statistical analysis and turns out the deliverables. So we're the working arm and the basis of all of our projects. When we get a new client that has contacted us through the web, for instance, and they go right into our new client acquisition committee, and which, as you see, has 10 volunteers. New client acquisition vets all the NGO clients that comes in and shapes their projects into statistical or data science framework, which we can work with. Sometimes this takes quite a bit of working with the clients the clients that come into us many times aren't statisticians, of course. That's why they need the help. So there's some education that goes on in new client acquisition, but working with all of those clients is their first and foremost job. When they have gotten that project pretty well under control and they know where it's going, they're ready to turn it over to the next group, our next committee, which is project and client management, our PCMs. We have 65 volunteers right now that are trained and ready to go as project managers. They get in the new projects and they first of all work with the client to turn out a statement of work. That is a really detailed statement that tells not only about the client and what they want, but talks about what we need to get from our volunteers to do this project. The call for a volunteer might include, say, something like we need 2 R programmers, or we need an Excel expert, or a questionnaire design person. They gather together these experts through their call for volunteers, and the project manager that heads up the project is our link to the client from that point forward. They work with the client day in and day out until the project is finished. Within us doing the work with this client, we have a group of statistical consultants. The job of statistical consultants is basically to secure the statistical integrity of everything that we do. That is to ensure that the analytical plan is appropriate and that the results that we get are correct. We have 39 volunteers in this group, in this committee. All of these are senior statisticians with various expertise, and some quite detailed, and some are esoteric. Others are ready for most of the projects that we bring in. Along with statistical consultants doing quality control on all of our work and output, we have a delivery and quality assurance group that now has 49 volunteers. All these add up to 152 volunteers in engagement. As you can see, these are our committee members within engagement. The DQA, data delivery and quality assurance people, assure that our process has been followed and that deliverables meet our standards. They have some checklists that they go through and work with the project manager to make sure everything is done, and basically to see that the work that we're doing, the scientific work, is replicable. Next slide, please. So this year, we had 29 new projects within the last year. That is from August to August. I've already mentioned that each project has a project client manager, a statistical consultant, and a delivery and quality assurance analyst. And on average, we figure that we have about 6 additional volunteers for each project. So that gives us 9 average volunteers per project for a total of 261 volunteers that our committee used during the year for the projects that we've done. Another measure of the projects in a year is that we've done 40 projects have been touched during the year by our engagement directorate. 40 times 9 is 360. So the volunteers we've used last year is a variable, right? all these volunteers come from, as I mentioned, the project manager putting out the call for volunteers and saying what we need to our programmers, etc. And these are the people that get our work done in SWB. We now will move into showing you some of these projects, some examples of the projects that we've done. We're going to show you 3 projects or snapshots.
David,
that give you an idea of the type of work that we do.
And-
Sangeeta is our first speaker, I do believe. So Matt, you can move on to the next slide.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to hop in here, given where we are on time. So one of our volunteers, Sangeeta, as he mentioned, has volunteered with us and has pre-recorded a video. Given where we are time-wise, and we've got about 15 minutes left, what we're going to do is we're actually going to jump to the second project snapshot here, let the folks who are live share their presentation. We'll kind of wrap up with our stuff. And then if there's time at the end, we can play this video. We also have this recorded, so we'll share the link with anybody who's interested. We can make sure that this gets sent out about one of the dashboarding projects that we've done related to COVID and Bayesian modeling and things like that. So with that, I am going to jump ahead, and again, I'll share that link out to folks. But Michelle, would you? I know that we're kind of running things a little bit here. Michelle, would you be okay to jump in and present your project?
Absolutely.
Cool. And you would prefer to share your screen, right?
Yes, I would.
I'll stop
Oops.
sharing.
Actually, you better share your screen because I didn't load the slides.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
They're around somewhere and it would take me a minute or two. So let's just do this. So thank you. To start, I would like to acknowledge that the collaborative work being done was for persons living on the unceded and stolen territories of the Tsimshian, Malchosen, Lekwungen, Semiahmoo, and Suke peoples of South Vancouver Island in Canada. Next slide. So between March 11th and 12th in 2020, over 175 citizen volunteers and staff, along with a cross-sector of service agencies and community partners, participated in what's called the point-in-time homeless count and survey in the Capital Region, which is also known as Greater Victoria Region. At that point, 1,523 people were experiencing homelessness in the Greater Victoria Region. Now, on March 7th, 2023, again, citizen volunteers and others participated in the PIC count, and the numbers for the Capital Region, while expected to be similar, were slightly larger. On the night of March 7th, 1,665 people were experiencing homelessness in the Capital Region. Of these, 242 were unsheltered. Well, the 2020 count had more people using emergency shelters. Only 282 were using emergency shelters in 2023. Fewer people were couch surfing, with 85 people couch surfing, but almost double the number of people who were in public systems such as corrections facilities jumped to 410, and almost 200 more, 100 more again were in transitional housing, so that number went up to 601. Next slide, please. So, who we are. The Alliance is a nonprofit organization and legally known as the Greater Victoria Coalition to End Homelessness. This year, we rebranded and are doing business as the Alliance to End Homelessness in the Capital Region. We are a community-owned solution with a mission to ensure the experiences of homelessness in the Capital Region by 2030 are rare, brief, and non-recurring, and that housing and supports are culturally adaptive, caring, creative, and person-centered. Noting that on the South Vancouver Island, there are 13 municipalities, and we have outreach to all 13 municipalities. We are a very small organization, and we really desired a tool to support monitoring sentiment on homelessness in the Greater Victoria region. As you can imagine, it is a very contentious issue. So until early 2023, this task was done by hand, reviewing Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and online posts and articles regarding homelessness in the homelessness serving sector. While we may have been able to create this tool, there was only a team of 2, and we would have needed to acquire several new skills. As I personally have been a volunteer with SWB since approximately 2014 or 15, I knew the work being done. I knew about our work being done and thought our project would be a natural fit. Next slide. So, following discussions with the new projects team, and a call for volunteers was issued, followed by the forming of the SWB team. We had 3 project coordinators, internet integration, modeling, a dashboard, and scraping, with our 2 people from our organization, Althea, and myself working on this. The project kicked off August 2022, starting with collecting requirements and creating our statement of work. The coordinators, collaborating with our communications department, which for me was a lot of fun, started with someone named Meredith, then followed by somebody named Nina, and then finally landing on Althea and myself at the Alliance, drew up the statement of work for a phased approach to develop the sentiment analysis tool. Originally, we wanted to have Twitter, Reddit, and online web pages, but that was going to be too large a project. Next slide, please. Through our initial meetings and emails, the scope was defined as building a tool that collected posts from social media, using a predefined list of keywords, finding posts about homelessness in Victoria, and the sentiment analysis was to determine the attitude or emotion of a piece of text. So we wanted to know if these comments were positive, neutral, or negative. The first statement of work suggested that this should be expanded to other social media websites, and was delayed until we had a working concept with Twitter. Then we collaboratively decided to move to that phased approach. The phase 1 was the sentiment analysis with Twitter that had 2 parts to that. Phase 2 will be with Reddit, and phase 3 with the web. Decisions were made to make this a linear pipeline, all written in Python, and all the tools and services are free, so that makes it easy for the Alliance to maintain these tools. Next slide, please. So the pipeline was discussed with the Alliance, and what we talked about was that the work would be spread over different team members, which you had seen the different teams. The scraper was where the data was initially collected and some initial cleaning was performed. There was a modeling stage where the sentiment model was applied, and then the dashboard was the result of what we would be using. Next slide, please. So SWB relied heavily on our work in the sector to decide what the issue was and what kind of data was desired. So we divided this into subject and region keywords with further refinement of the subject. We started out with 50 keywords under organization sectors and just words, and ended up having to reduce that a couple of times. So it went through a few iterations. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, previous slide, sorry. Okay, so we wanted to talk about homelessness, but we also wanted to make sure that it was in Victoria. And what we decided was we wanted to look at different neighborhoods, look at the region, and look at top influencers, because there are a lot of people, especially out in Twitter, that talk a lot about homelessness. And some of them are what we call NIMBY, not in my backyard. So they're pushing the idea that people experiencing homelessness are not members of our community and should be warehoused somewhere where nobody can see them. Next slide, please. So just to say, we were just so grateful that SWB pulled us into many online and email conversations to talk about the sentiment analysis results and how we envisioned sentiment at the Alliance through our communications and research perspectives. So we were able to discuss the relevance of the tweets as compared to the number of keywords we were using. So as you can see, we were able to go through example tweets and say, yes, those were really focused on what we wanted. Next slide, please. However, we found out that even with all of that wonderful work, it was only 27% relevant. Judu, who was on our team, had just recently read something by Tunstall in 2022 about efficient few-shot learning without props, which was a paper that talked about a relevance model. So she asked if we wanted a relevance model, and we said, you bet. So what happened? Next slide, please. We went from 27% precision, recall, and score to 95 to 96%. That's about as good as you're going to get with this type of tool. And we were just super happy. Next slide, please. The final piece was the dashboard. It allows the Alliance to look at collected data and receive an overall picture of the relevancy. We had looked at SharePoint solutions because we use MS and Dash, but that was going to be too complicated. So we settled, the team settled on Streamlit, which was straightforward and easy, has wonderful documentation. It's free hosting, and it integrates with Git, which means that my Python skills need to be developed really rapidly. Some limits on Streamlit are just the number of dashboards we can use. However, for what we're doing, we are just collecting and aggregating data, testing scripts, and displaying the information for the Alliance. Don't worry about clicking on the link, but if anybody's interested at any point in time, we can share the link to our dashboard. It is a thing of beauty. Last slide, please. So the future of the Twitter API is up in the air right now, so it's kind of hard to say how long we're going to leverage it, but the good news is the pipeline can be abstracted to other sources as we look to expand to other resources. It's now in our hands, and we're able to use it on a daily or weekly or even monthly basis, and it actually allows us to compare two time frames. Well, all of this code is on GitHub. The plans for Reddit, our phase 3 is going to be starting apparently in a week and a half. And we just want to say we really appreciated the collaboration through the email and meetings, and we were always included in the discussions. So as both a member of SWB and as a client of SWB, I cannot say enough about the wonderful work done by this particular SWB team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I just added the link to the Streamlit app in the Zoom chat so folks are able to take a look at that if that's something that they want to do. There's a lot of folks who are asking questions about ways to get involved. And so given that we are very close on time before tossing it over to the UNICEF group, in case anybody needs to leave, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly jump forward a few slides, and then we'll jump back to round this out because I want to make sure that we're able to take a look at this. But for folks who say, hey, I have a hard stop at the top of the hour, again, as I said at the top, we've got 5 areas of focus. And so what we invite you to do, there's a lot of conversation in the channel around, hey, I would like to be involved. I'd like to do, something. Pick one of the items on the left side, whether it's about strategic planning, without borders, marketing and communications, volunteer engagement, increasing our number of these high quality projects with clients who are appropriate for us. Just send an email to me, chair.statisticswithoutborders@gmail.com. And I'm eager to route you to the right person for getting involved in that way. So I wanted to make sure to re-up that before getting into the UNICEF project. As you'll see as part of this recording and the slides that will be made available, we've got a little bit of information on how to get involved. Reminder that you will need to register to be a member of SWB if you aren't in order to contribute. We've got some contact information toward the end. But with that as kind of the way to wrap up, I'm just very grateful for everybody's time and energy and attention here. Again, for folks who need to hop, I very much understand that. But what I'd like to do is, Shloka, may I toss it to you, or who should I toss it to go through the project? Agnetha, are you going to drive for the UNICEF project, or Shloka, do you want to do that?
I'd prefer someone else control the slides, but I'll be
Sure.
talking. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect. So I'll
Thank
stop
you,
sharing
Matt.
here. Yeah, thank you.
And awesome. Totally understand. We will make these available to all of us, to all of you, along with the India Excellence Forum. So please look out for those materials as well. And we have our project spotlight. Let me get to your slide, Agnetha. But please, yeah, I'm so excited to hear about your project.
Yeah, okay. So hi everyone, I'm Agnetha Ason, and I was the project client manager, or PCM, for 2 projects that SWB did with UNICEF. So next slide, please. UNICEF was performing a self-evaluation of their overall response in Afghanistan since the political transition that happened back in 2021. Just so you all know, Afghanistan's GDP was 40% international aid. So the ensuing withdrawal of this aid, along with sanctions, have pushed the country on the verge of an economic collapse. UNICEF was practically the only one remaining still with funds coming in. So to help with this evaluation, SWB had 2 projects. The first one, trend analysis of household surveys conducted by Reach. And the second one was to propose an ideal sample size for a mobile survey data, and then proposing post-stratification weights. Next slide, please. First, the teams. There's me, the PCM. I basically coordinated with everyone, with the client, from defining and scoping the project to managing expectations to scheduling meetings. And then with our statistical consultant, who was Ralph Winters, who you might recognize from the volunteer spotlight earlier. 3, with the analyst team, starting with interviews, picking the team, which was very, very difficult, by the way, because so many people were interested. Scheduling meetings, not to be underestimated, given that we are without borders and time zones is definitely a thing. Running discussions, plotting timelines, documenting everything. And then finally, with data and quality assurance to ensure we are following our internal quality standards. You heard earlier that we need more volunteers for our committees. I hope some of you guys consider joining. If you have the interest, I say definitely go for it. Because just a bit about me, I've been with SWB since 2016. I've always wanted to join a project, but I always felt that there's surely someone more qualified than me to apply. But last year, they issued a call for volunteers for the PCM committee, and I figured I had the project management skills needed for it, and immediately jumped at the opportunity. It's been an incredibly fulfilling experience for me to be a PCM, even if I wasn't on the analyst team per se. So yeah. Okay, now on to the projects. Next slide, please. So phase 1, data analysis on Reach data. So Reach is a humanitarian initiative that provides data and analysis to assist with decision-making and evaluation in the context of aid response. Their whole of Afghanistan assessment started in 2018, providing annual baseline data sets on multi-cluster needs for population groups across Afghanistan, allowing for a longitudinal assessment of needs and severity for the country. From the team's preliminary analysis, they found a few limitations. Reach data covers 2019 to 2022, which is quite short for a reasonable trend analysis. Only 2 groups of participants are consistently representative through time, These are the internally displaced people and the cross-border returnees. Other groups are not represented or do not appear in some years. And then finally, the survey was a bit inconsistent across the years. Some questions are added, dropped, or had a different phrasing. Some options were also changed throughout the years. Next slide, please. And so the project became a descriptive and exploratory analysis, basically a starting point or quick summary of the data. For the methodology, a common R script was used by all analysts for all clusters identified by UNICEF to be of interest. WASH here stands for Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene. The script merged the 5 datasets and harmonized the data because sometimes even region and province names were not the same. It dealt with missing values, duplicates, data formats, etc. And then this was also something that we also provided to the client. For pre-processing, since only a few variables were common to all the datasets, some variables were renamed to match across the years. Some simple transformations or combinations were also done, such as aggregating some variables to match those in other years. For example, a boys variable plus a girls variable is basically the children variable. Next slide, please. The final deliverable was a 114 slide presentation. So I won't be showing that to you today, just a few data visualization charts. For the nutrition cluster, here's a map chart showing median food consumption score per region across all the datasets. It's an interactive map using Tableau. Next. Here's a candlestick chart of food consumption, disaggregated by whether the household has debt or not, with a few comments on the side for the analyst to be able to highlight certain aspects of the chart. Next. For the education cluster, here's a bar chart showing school attendance by gender throughout the years, showing that the portion of girls did drop sometime after the transition. Next. For the WASH indicator, here's a heat map of access to improved water sources, disaggregated by provinces, so that those with consistently bigger proportions of no answers can be targeted. Next slide. And here's a sample from the protection cluster of a heat map showing which households have complete Tazkiras. This is their national identity document, or if only some of them have or none at all. Next slide. Finally, for phase 2, which despite its name was actually done in parallel to phase 1, was to aid UNICEF on their mobile phone survey rollout for health and nutrition indicators. First, the team proposed a sampling size per province and gender before the survey was conducted. And then the survey actually took a while because they had difficulty meeting the female quotas for some provinces. Afterwards, the team proposed weights for the variables after the survey based on province, age, and gender. This post-stratification is meant to adjust the weights of undersampled and oversampled subpopulations so that the overall sample is more representative of the true subpopulation. For this step, the challenge was in looking for data on the true population size and, of course, all of the variables that come with it. So some projections and assumptions had to be made. This post-stratification is needed because even if we had a target sample size defined, the company that did the calls did not have the demographic info beforehand. So they had to keep calling and only find out during the call what their gender actually was. For age, this was also needed because this was not included in target sample size as it is too restricting. And that's it for my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Agnetha. This was amazing to hear from your experiences and just all the things that you did. With that, thank you so much to all of you for joining. Please, Matt has really shared a couple of times the chair email, but there's also the statistics without borders at gmail.com. a huge thank you to all of you for making SWB what it is. We are entirely volunteer run. If we didn't have you, we wouldn't have anything that we do. So thank you to all our speakers today, Michelle, Agnetha. Thank you for not only doing the work, but also sharing with us everything you did. Thank you to all of you for joining. And please reach out, please stay in touch. Yes, we will share the deck as well as the recording from today and the project spotlight that we did not get to share. So yes, amazing experience from Afghanistan. Thank you, Bill. And we look forward to office hours for those of you who have recently joined. Jay mentioned the welcoming or the, I cannot speak today, but the ones that Jay mentioned, onboarding, welcoming. So we look forward to really working with you, finding out more about yourselves, and please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. With that, wishing you all a great rest of your day, rest of your week. And again, a huge thank you from all of us.